Yes.
Hi, Martin. Welcome to episode 112 of Illuminating Rounds. I nearly caught you out on the "Are you ready?"
This is the first time you've asked me if I'm ready, and then you interrupted me, telling you that I'm ready by saying we're ready. We're going.
Yeah, exactly. We can't have that. Was it the millennial pause or something? The thing that all the young kids don't like when us oldies start videos, and we have a little pause before we start. We have to come in bang on.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. That's it. Because we're still young at heart.
Exactly. Do you feel any different to when you were 17 years old?
Do you know? I think I actually do a little bit. Like I feel like I have a little bit like I think twice before I do something that's got some physical danger involved.
Okay.
Whereas when I was younger, I didn't.
Like getting married.
I definitely think twice before doing that. Drinking, I mean, I can take my drink reasonably well still, but the next day I don't feel as good as I used to. I don't sleep well if I have like even a relatively moderate amount of alcohol. So I think there are some differences, but in some respects, no.
Okay.
In other respects, I don't feel different. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I was thinking this the other day that I like to think I don't feel any different. Obviously, we think a little bit differently. But I don't think. I was kind of thinking life has been pretty kind to me health wise so far. So, fingers crossed. Touch wood.
Had any real health problems? Touch wood.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And I don't doubt it's because ASL keeps us young and healthy. That's the thing. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a Schwerpunkt scenario. A new Schwerpunkt scenario that we played.
Vienna Bypass.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No spoilers, but pretty good scenario.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about victory conditions. We're going to talk about favourite victory conditions and any victory conditions.
Which ones you tend to avoid, I suppose. Yeah.
So I guess that's my first question to you then is there ever a time where, and I know you're going to say you'd never turn away a scenario necessarily. We're very rarely, we look at a scenario and we say we wouldn't play it. But there are times, I mean, for example, if we don't fancy a knight scenario or if we don't fancy an infantry-only scenario, what about a scenario that had a victory condition that you didn't fancy? Would you ever not play it because of a victory condition?
Yeah, so as you say, I'm not sure I wouldn't play it, but there's definitely ones that if I'm weighing up two different scenarios, I'd like more than others. And I suppose one of the ones that might put me off is exit. I kind of don't like exit victory conditions very much. And I suppose there's perhaps two reasons for that. One of them is that you can, as a defender, you can never guarantee stopping something, can you? I mean, I suppose you slightly can by like physically having a unit in the way, but often they just kind of like you end up with a mad rush, don't you, with the kind of thing. So those I'm slightly less keen on. They also feel like, I mean, I know that in real life they bypass units and that follow-up units deal with the guys left behind and stuff. It just sometimes just feels a bit like a game rather than a simulation. Like they just seems a bit like random. Why are they just like
it sometimes gets a bit farcical, doesn't it? You get. I mean, I think we've all watched and we've all been in games, but certainly you tend to, the ones that you kind of hang around and watch in a tournament are the ones where you've got to get 4 of these squads off, and you've got 8 squads left, and there's 3 defenders, and there's 4 residual here, and there's 2 residual here, and the hero runs first, and there's no shots, and all this kind of stuff. And now the hero sits next to the machine gun, and you're like, okay, that restricts his fire and stuff. Yeah. And then it just becomes, all right, roll dice, and it almost, it's sometimes you see a narrative, don't you? Like the attacker starts passing all the morale checks, and the defender can't get anything, and then he final fires, and he's coward, and he's this, that, and the other, and you kind of think, oh, this has gone, and or it goes the other way where, it's a normal morale check, it's a pin check, and they're double sixing, and they're rolling 11s and this kind of stuff, and it's like, it always seems to be like, we're either not going to let this player win, or this player is going to, very rarely he's like, but it's great when it comes down to the last guy trying to get off.
Yeah, they can definitely be quite sort of gripping like that. I mean, I would say in defence of a scenario like that, that's a scenario that's gone because there's been lots of there's been lots of things happen before that sort of end game, isn't there? Which gives the defender or the attacker an advantage, I suppose. So yeah, in the end, it'll be decided on a couple of dice rolls.
Right.
But because the attacker's done a good job, they've got lots of possibilities to get off, kind of thing. And if the defender's got a good job, they're just relying on one or two units to get off and make the points.
Right.
But yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So what about then the kind of like the most the classic victory condition is the building control.
Yeah.
Victory condition. A nice easy one to.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice and easy to understand, albeit that there are 4 or 5 different versions of the building control victory conditions, isn't there? Kind of thing. Because we've got the going to church one when I set up a scenario playing you in my early days with none of the German defenders actually in the church, which meant you won because it was
my greatest
at any point when there are no German multi-man cannons in there.
Yeah.
So there's that one, isn't there? And then there's getting control, there's having more units than the opponent, and there's all
good order versus just control of the building and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and I think they're often to get around how the end of though generally speaking, I wouldn't be put off by a building control scenario.
Right.
But those different victory condition types are really to get around some of the gaminess of the end, I think, of those sorts of scenarios.
What about when the building is 4 or 5 hexes and it's 2 levels, 3 levels, whatever it is, and it's building control of that, and that the defender is going to be, deploying and is going to be doing the ring of donut death or whatever it is,
it doesn't make for a great scenario, does it? I mean, you could potentially have buildings with one staircase going up them, and all you need is a half squad on each level, and you slow to one level per turn. The advance. And not hugely fun. Wasn't there a scenario we played where scaling was allowed, which meant that the French units trapped at the top of this sort of building weren't encircled?
Right. You thought you had to climb up it or down it or something.
I thought I had to climb out of the top and get back in the bottom. It was also quite early in my ASL career. It was quite fun. It was like, do you remember? There used to be a thing where you put Play-Doh in, and I don't know whether everybody is listening from a country whether they have Play-Doh. I don't really know. But you put the Play-Doh into this thing, and then you'd push it up, and it would come out like hair.
Yeah, silly putty. Is it silly putty they call it in America? I don't know.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was exactly how I felt. With
they kind of
sailing down the building and then jumping back. Suddenly, your guys are encircled.
The reverse card.
How do you feel about very complex Gary Fortenberry type victory conditions?
I think those are the scenarios that reward multiple plays once you've figured out the thing. I think there's certainly a very interesting I think and it's for the ASL betterment, if you like, that those kind of scenarios exist, because it shows what you can do. It's not just, I think if you and I were designing ASL and we were the ones in charge of scenario design, 30% of them would be building control, 25% would be, get off a building, and the rest would be maybe CVP or something like that. We wouldn't have that much creativity. And Gary's stuff really does reward the nuance of what is trying to be achieved. I do think that sometimes it boils down to the same thing. Like, have you done well in the scenario, and now you can call it a victory? And I'm just going to struggle, obviously, to think of specific ones. But I remember there was, and I don't know if this was a Gary one, but there was one very clever victory condition where you got extra victory points for capturing the buildings earlier. So the earlier you got them, the more victory points. It multiplied almost by the number of turns left for each building. So it really did just reward a very fast push.
Both sides have got to think about how big an investment it is worth.
That's right.
To try and hang on for that extra turn or to get it quicker when there's other things they're trying to achieve.
Right. Yeah. And then there's the extension from that one was Belgian Blitzkrieg, which we've just played in the tournament for the final. We're going to show that one next time. My game's still going on with Tomo. But that one had the sudden death victory condition. So this is for this one it happened to be if the Germans capture the first building, which is maybe 3 or 4 hexes away from the start, within 2 turns, they win immediately. And what the twist is that the Germans can take some of the initial onboard force and put them into their turn 3 reinforcements that will come on from the side. So you can either invest heavily in trying to do this in the first turn, or you can kind of save it. And obviously the Belgian doesn't know what you're going to do. So it's an amazingly clever, victory condition
Mechanism.
and choice.
Yeah.
So sudden death victory conditions, do you like those?
So I don't mind them. I think one of my problems with them is that it's obviously a little bit kind of embarrassing to finish. You meet up to play a big scenario for the day kind of thing, and like sort of like an hour in, you kind of go, well, it looks like you've won it.
Yes.
So the tendency perhaps is to try just a little bit too hard to make sure as the defender that you don't lose with that kind of instant, or as the attacker, whoever is at risk of losing at that point. And I'm not very good at balancing things, I can, because that's what that's all about, isn't it? You need like the minimum force to hang on to that building.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you're perhaps likely to lose them. They're not doing anything else.
Yes.
But
you don't know what
you
just don't know what you're up against. You could be up against 10 squads, or you could be up against 5 squads or something like that. And so it's very hard to balance it. I mean, I guess
it is. You've almost got to overdo it, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And that's so in my game, which hasn't finished yet, I assumed that Tomo would be very defensively minded, so would make sure. So I thought, okay, I'll put the maximum on the back, and he actually did it quite well. Obviously, he's a good player, and he's kind of put like a medium amount, not very many at all, and held off long enough. And now, I win that building immediately. But then I've got problems going forward. I haven't quite got enough guys left because they took a bit of a battering. And so ours is quite in the balance right now for that one.
Yeah.
What about road control, like things like that, where you've got to keep guys 1 hex away from a road and things like that? Those kind of ones where you've got to kind of make a path for presumably the subsequent forces.
Yeah. I mean, typically, I can think of scenarios. I can't name them. I can think of a scenario that's like that, where it's a long road through a wood.
Yeah, and Danont was similar to that I know we never finished that, but the campaign game is kind of this idea of clearing a road off. You're right. There's a couple of them. That one to me always feels really difficult because what tends to happen in the scenarios I've played where I've had that is the defenders break and they spread out a little bit, and then one lucky rally from like a 4 or 5 morale guy on the corner of the board or whatever, and suddenly he's able to run towards the board, and you've got to kind of marshal that all the time.
And that feels like sort of unrealistic. Now, I do get the idea that you're securing a road for other forces or supply convoy to move through or whatever, but it feels kind of a little bit random that guys would just run along and, I don't know, be near the road behind the front or whatever. Right. I don't know. It just feels like something that would happen in a game, but maybe wouldn't happen in a battle. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
CVP caps. What do we think about those?
So this is when an instant death, isn't it? When you go above a CVP cap.
Yep.
I think that's perfectly fine, and that's obviously nearly always tied into some other victory condition, isn't it? It's like another way to lose. And I think that's reasonable. I mean, I was reading. I finished reading our book, by the way. The
Max Hastings one.
Hastings book. Yeah. I can't remember what it's called.
Hell Let Loose, is it?
Hell Let Loose. Yeah, and I finished that yesterday. But he makes lots of points near the end about how Western militaries, the British, the Americans in particular, waged war in a way which took account of the fact that they didn't really want mass casualties, and that the Soviet Union in a way waged war in a very kind of like sort of different way. But obviously, force commanders have to conserve their forces, don't they? So I think it's you famously hear about the sort of the order to stand to the last man and the last bullet or whatever. But for the most part, the idea of any force going into battle is that it achieves its objectives, and then it's able to achieve another objective at some point in the future. You don't want everything to be destroyed, do you, in the process? So I think that's a perfectly reasonable one. If you're going to lose all your tanks or whatever, capture a farmhouse, your boss is probably in fine for him to say, yeah, you probably shouldn't have cost us that much, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the victory condition where you have to kill a certain unit? So that one reminds me of like Wunderwaffe, I think is that one of them, or the one where they got the big KV ones sitting in the middle of I think it's a friendly fire one where you've got to destroy this crazy big tank in the middle of the battlefield. That kind of kill this one unit kind of thing. And stop it, obviously stop running it away and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
You're right. So those ones I get concerned about because I feel like it becomes a bit of a cat and mouse sometimes. And that's we've had a couple of scenarios descend into like almost a Benny Hill style. You're running away, I'm running after you, or vice versa.
Fair enough.
Because you can't kill that last guy or whatever it is. And sometimes they break from those perspectives.
There is probably something in that, though. Like I keep kind of going back to whether it feels, because that if it feels like a simulation of a battle, and I know that all the problems with it not being a simulation of a battle, I tend to enjoy it more. My willing suspension of disbelief, I can kind of pretend that it's real, and with that, I think it's reasonable that you can have a weapon that's strategically critical. And it's more important to get it to safety or get it away than to use it in the battle that it's currently engaged in. I mean, an obvious example is kind of an aircraft carrier or something like that. They're often called capital ships or something, don't they? In a naval battle, the battle doesn't really matter, but without that aircraft carrier, the campaign will be lost. So it has to be saved at almost all costs. So I think there's something in that.
There's a scenario called, I think it's a meeting of patrols, I think, that has the idea that whoever gets the most VP wins. And it's just scored in CVP, I believe. And it's obviously going to be something like, Russians win if it's greater than also, so there'll be a tiebreaker. But the problem with it is I think that they kind of come together and then one gets the KIA or one gets a break or whatever and it, casualty reduction. And then suddenly they pull back. And so now the guys have to come forward, and you have that weird dynamic. They're quite rare, but I wonder if we're going to see potentially a bit more exploration as the system kind of, let's say, matures to its kind of crescendo. Let's say in terms of what can we do.
I guess that one of the types of victory conditions that a lot of people hate are ones which end up being, I think they're sometimes called bug hunts, aren't they? Where you can kind of you can hide, you've got hip Japanese units, but they've got to clear everything out.
Yeah.
And that happens not just in scenarios that are obviously bug hunts, but it happens in lots of scenarios. Do you remember the one that me and you played years ago?
The darkest day, was it?
The darkest day. No, it wasn't. It was. Do you know what the name might come to me? It might have been the Führer's Fireman or something like that. But basically, you were defending and I was attacking. I thought I was doing a pretty good job of achieving all of my objectives. But you had a hip gun on the kind of reverse slope of a hill, and all you needed to do was reveal that and advance the crew onto the top of the hill to steal the kind of the victory. Now that was my inexperience, that I wasn't kind of like aware of that as being perhaps something that you might do. But there are lots of situations where I think games are, I don't know whether they're spoiled, but they kind of, as long as the designer had that strategy in mind, so there's a degree of balance.
Yeah.
If that gun was absolutely vital for the defence, then that strategy might not have worked very well for you, because I might vote. Sorry,
I think it might have even been Fortenberry or one of those designers that came up with the idea of like on turn 4, everything that's hip is now revealed. Under concealment, for example, but just to stop that.
I've forgotten about that.
To try and mitigate that, which is a clever idea. And I think it's now sometimes scenarios show their age when they don't do that, if that is a viable way to win. And that's been kind of interesting. What's been interesting for me is that they haven't tried to do victory conditions outside of the box. So, for example, I'd imagine a scenario where the deal was to try and kill the enemy sniper, for example. And that might be, for example, you might have to have, let's say that the sniper value was 5, and we're not going to say killing it as in reducing it to 0 or from lower than 2, but maybe it's to conduct 2 successful sniper attacks. So it's quite a gamey mechanism, but the idea might be that you have to try to force enough sniper attacks and to be in a position where you can attack the enemy's sniper, with a sniper check kind of thing. But those kind of examples of really thinking outside of the box about what can we do with a scenario, and they might be a bit gimmicky, and that might be the problem, that they're a once and done style. We play them, but I feel like because most scenarios now are just played once and then we move on to something else, with the exception of some kind of classic tournament scenarios and things, that there is room for make sure the train gets into the station on time, and this is the train counter kind of thing, and it's just a very gimmicky scenario. But how do you stop that, or what's those kind of things? We've still seen a lot of meat and potato.
Do you know, I did have a thought years ago about a scenario when I was reading some sort of military account, and it links to this idea of keeping the road open. This idea that you've so many firepower factors on the road, and the attacker loses or whatever. But I thought of the idea of of literally there being a convoy that's going to arrive on turn 5 or something, and moves in convoy, and it's going to go right the way down the road or whatever. So that's similar to your kind of just sort of train idea, making sure the train arrives on time or whatever. But you have no control over that convoy of vehicles.
You know the scenario I'm thinking of that you loved.
Barkman's Corner.
Barkman's Corner, that's right.
Yeah. That was horrific, and you did the public humiliation of me with that one. I still go to tournaments and people go, "Oh, well, he's nearly died watching you getting thrashed by Dave in Barkman's Corner."
But just so for those that haven't seen it, whatever. But the deal is that you've got a convoy moving up a centre of a road, and you have to just stay in convoy and move. So I think it's the Germans just sit there and wait for the Americans to get in ideal position.
They're all hip, aren't they? It's entirely an ambush scenario.
Right. Yeah. So that kind of one, unforgettable scenarios.
But my idea was they'd be just lorries, and the thing is how many of them would get through with with things attacking, and that kind of makes more sense of this sort of trying to keep the road clear, and the game isn't over just because a couple of units get near it.
That makes a lot of sense. And so that scenario, that kind of victory condition is almost like, okay, well here's 4 trucks, they come on turn 1 or afterwards, get them off this edge here. I think the trouble with that one is that it gets a bit gamey as well, because then all that happens is the defender just goes all out for the trucks at the expense of everything else, running in front of tanks and this, that, and the other, just to stop it.
And in reality, nobody would behave like that, would they?
Right.
You got your own self-preservation in mind, but also, there'll be other objectives for the individual units and people. Yeah.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to do it. So, in a nutshell, you're not going to be put off by victory conditions, or you're just going to muddle through them.
No, I wouldn't be put off. But you've got to see it. You've got to see it in the round, haven't you? With other factors.
Yeah.
But I certainly wouldn't not play a scenario because of the victory condition.
So what about then? Okay, so the final question then is: do you prefer a victory condition that has an "and" in the victory conditions, or an "or" in the victory conditions? So, for example, today's scenario, Vienna Bypass, the Russians have to take 3 of the 4 buildings and exit 2 AFVs. Now, regardless of the balance from that perspective, if that was an "or" an "and," obviously the forces would be different. And stuff. What sounds more attractive to you?
I think I prefer the "and."
Do you?
I hate "ors."
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's overstating it. Hate.
Right.
Hate is a strong word, isn't it? I mean, I'm not the brightest ASL player out here. That's I think "or" is intellectually more challenging than "and."
Right.
Because you've got to decide how much effort you put into one. I suppose you have with "and" as well, haven't you? You've still got to decide how much effort to put into.
But are you talking from a defender's point of view?
I'm thinking from a defender's point of view. So I tend to think as a defender.
Yeah. So if you're attacking, you quite like the "ors" on the attacking.
Yeah, so if you had to capture 3 of those buildings or send 2 tanks off,
Yeah.
which do I set up to defend against?
Yeah.
Obviously, I've got to set up to defend against both.
Yeah.
And that's difficult from the defender's point of view. It's great from an attacker's point of view, isn't it? Because you can go for whichever seems to be least well defended.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that interlude, then we can talk about Vienna Bypass. So, Schwerpunkt number 24, is it? 23, 24, something like this. This is the new Schwerpunkt scenario pack.
Came out a few months ago, didn't it?
It did. Very happy to see Schwerpunkt guys back again. And let's pull up the map here.
Yep.
So what do we got? You did you pulled down the scenario template that someone had very kindly created. We should give them some credit. Let's just find out who that was. And if you are a patron of the Scenario Archive or this channel, for example, you have access to the new look of the Scenario Archive. So on the top right hand corner of most scenario pages now, you'll have a little page, a little section, that says, I'm just going to pull it up here and let's get Vienna Bypass. So yeah, you on the top right hand corner, if you're a patron, you'll get the top vassal setups for the last 3. And this was Bon Giovanni had created this one, so we should say thank you to him. Yeah. Now those setup files are available in the user files down at the bottom of the page. Tab along to user files, so they're always there. But
they're just a bit more obvious for the patrons, aren't they?
Exactly.
And it was brilliant. It was so good. It was. I mean, I found that I downloaded it, and I was moving German counters around within a couple of minutes instead of setting everything up. It was really,
good job. All right, so let's have a look at this scenario. So. Nice little board. We like the double wide boards, the 12B. So we've got about 10 German squads, 9.5.
There's exactly that, 9.5 German squads.
German squads.
A heavy machine gun, a medium machine gun, 2 Tigers, with 9 -1 leaders, so 1 each.
Yep.
And an 88L anti-aircraft gun as well.
It's pretty good, isn't it? As German defences go in the late war, it's pretty good. SS.
Pretty good.
Now late war rules are in effect. I don't think that really came into account here, so there was no.
I think it did slightly affect the way that the units ELR failed ELRs, and a couple of the German units did fail their ELR checks.
Okay. The Russians have, I'm going to say, only 12 squads. But 12 against 9 when you are clearing out stone buildings.
And they're very good squads. I mean, there's a lot of half of them are 628s.
628s and 458s.
458s.
Which I would argue are all worse than your guys.
Well, that's true, but nonetheless, they're good squads. And you've got very good leadership, better leadership than the German has. 9 -2, 9 -1, 8 -1.
Yeah, that's very true. So but 3 leaders between 12 squads.
True.
So now we have these scout cars. Mm-hmm.
These are American vehicles, I think.
That's
they?
right. They're the M. Is it 241? Something like that. Scout cars with the heavy machine gun and the medium machine gun in there.
Yeah.
And the Schwerpunkt guy says these guys are a little bit complicated because they use truck movement points and bits and pieces. Make sure you read the vehicle notes. So of course, I set up. And then I read the vehicle notes, which is not the right way to do it. So within, I would say, about 4 seconds, and of course I know you would always let me reset up, but I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
It was all about, okay, well, I should have really put the half squads that you get. You get 2 half squads. And when you get 2 half squads with the Russians, there's always a clue there somewhere, isn't there, to use those half squads properly.
Those vehicles have got a heavy and a medium machine gun in them each, I think.
That's right.
Although I think the Schwerpunkt guide makes a suggestion of even using them to run them off.
Right.
Because we haven't talked about victory conditions yet, have we? But
no.
So
yes, the victory conditions are there are 4 buildings, and effectively the Russians have to get the good order guys out of 3 of them.
Exactly.
Is our reading of it, and we have to pull off 2. We get 2 AFVs off the top of the board.
Yeah. And the Russians have altogether 9 AFVs.
Yeah, exactly.
including
Exactly, and that is significant.
Yeah.
There is a lot of
Yeah.
barrels, as it were, against the two guys.
Yeah.
So we know it's Schwerpunkt. We know we've got 5.5 turns. It's going to be running.
Yeah.
So I'm the Russians here. And so off we go, really. When we were talking about, we were trying to figure out here, I'd figured out cleverly that you had 2 dummy counters floating around because I missed 2 tigers. you were like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
You'd missed the fact that I've got the large
Yes.
ones. So I've got basically looks like 4 tigers.
That's right, exactly. You did a good job.
Yeah.
The magazine talks about, the little Schwerpunkt guy talks about, the potential of coming up here along the left-hand side for the gully for the Russians. That just felt too slow to me.
I've also placed the anti-aircraft gun. Actually, as it turns out, not very usefully, but to take a shot at any tanks that cheekily try to get off in that direction.
Right.
It sort of looks like that might be a safer route off because it looks like most of the tanks.
So my plan was I was going to try and push hard on the right with some of the tanks to see if there was at least. I assumed there was going to be 1 tiger on the left and 1 on the right. That's what I thought. So I thought, well, okay, I'll overload one side with tanks, try and get them off there, and then I'll worry about the rest as we go. So a little bit of prep fire just to try and get some concealment loss, which didn't happen. Advancing up here, and we're kind of going through. This was us counting the concealment counters.
That's right. Yeah.
But able to make some kind of progress. The combination of the ploughed fields and the hedges does
really slows the Russians down initially.
It does.
I actually wondered whether a human wave might not be a terrible option in this situation.
I think you're exactly right.
Line of sight to something.
Exactly. I think that's
which you didn't, to be fair. Yeah.
No. Yeah. But I think you can go against a concealed guy as well. I don't think it has to be a known enemy unit.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it can be an enemy unit. So a little bit of prep fire and a bit of advancing fire in here.
Yeah, so no defensive fires. I've kept my concealment. I forgot to conceal the 8-1.
Right.
You should have been concealed. No.
Okay.
I decided not to bother you about that.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So just pathetic skulking, obviously.
Yeah, that's right.
And I kind of felt like I hadn't really been involved at this point. And this is like, halfway through my turn 1, isn't it? I've done nothing, literally nothing except skulk.
Well, my best tank now with his armor leader breaks his main armament.
Of course, yeah.
So we then decide, okay, we're going to have a use for him. So rather than try and repair him, he's going to be on Tiger discovery duty.
And I've got the machine gun downstairs now. It was upstairs, which is why your phone firing worked, wasn't it?
Okay. I get a sniper that kills your 8-1.
Yep.
And then you get my sniper that recalls my scout car.
That's right. So now, in a sense, you're 2 vehicles down, aren't you? One because it hasn't got a main armament, and one because it's been recalled.
Yeah. Now we should have moved the scout car off first. It didn't really make a lot of difference.
Yeah. I did feel a bit hard done by losing my 8-1 leader.
Yeah, you were complaining whilst I had a recall tank and a 6.6 on my guy as well.
I was moaning. Yeah. But look at you. You're fair. You're safe now in that building on the left-hand side near the church.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a fair amount of open ground there to cross.
Yeah, that's true. But you've got that benefit that there's generally a wall in front of the building. So if I want the +3 for the stone building,
right,
you can get the +2 for the moving adjacent.
Yes.
Wall advantage.
That's right.
It is 1945, so I've got very good Panzerfaust capabilities. I've also got a Panzer Schreck somewhere.
Right.
But you're running off here, aren't you?
Yeah, so there was no shot from this guy here, which I was very surprised about when he got to here. So I was thinking, okay, well, that guy's got to be a dummy. So this guy has to be the real one. And I'm thinking, well, why hasn't this guy shot here? Yeah. So I think, okay, well, it must be this guy. So this guy then is just going to charge forward and just try and find out which one of these is the real tank.
Okay. And there is a little bit of me thinking, if you're going to get 2 vehicles off, it's better you get 2 vehicles off early, and then I'm not having to fight them.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's sort of almost not to contest that bit because they're gone. It's two tanks down quickly.
Right, right. So I do push. So the idea is I'm going to push this side.
Yeah.
I figure that one of these guys here then will be a tiger, so this guy gets into position.
Well,
Ready
one
to,
of them has to be, doesn't he?
yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, we accidentally run into the fire lane here and get lucky with the morale check, which forgot it was completely it was there.
Yeah.
And
I've got some good firepower, but it's all very built up. Yeah, I'm
Right.
waiting for you to be in the open and stuff.
yeah,
Get a good hit against that tank.
yeah, and then you decide you're just debating whether to intensive fire the tiger or not, and you don't. Or no, it's not yet.
No. I think it's in the next phase.
Yeah, that's right. So I fire back at the tiger.
Yeah.
Almost hit it, but not quite.
But it's quite a difficult shot when eventually I come to it. That's the thing, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're feeling under a lot of pressure on the left.
Yeah. So you turn the tank. So you're in a building there. So you turn the turret.
So
you
it's
pay your
very,
extra.
very difficult to hit. And
so
I
yeah.
thought I rolled-
Well, you've got your good roll coming up. So this is your first hit you've missed. Then your intensive fire, you double one.
So that felt good.
That did feel good for you, yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of pushing you back, but
Yeah.
I kind of feel a little bit hard done by on that one. Some more breaks in the middle.
Yeah.
You get a few breaks there as well.
Yeah. So I don't want to get too caught in those buildings on the left-hand side, and so I'm trying to sort of like squeeze back a little bit. There is a little bit of a bottleneck, isn't there? It's sort of between W10 and V9, where when you get there, potentially you could have a lot of firepower on that one hex.
Right.
That's what I'm sort of trying to make happen, really.
Right.
I did very well with rallies. Oh, that was your rally.
That was my rally, but yes, you did. You joked about how
I don't think I failed a single rally, even when they were DM. But these guys are 9 morale on the back, aren't they?
Right.
I now have got a squad chasing your tank a little bit.
Well, yeah, this is going to start, isn't it? So this guy starts to come off.
Yeah.
And he gets into the gully here, and he needs, I think it's an ESB roll here to do it. So the debate here is I've got a bog check to get out of the gully, and then I've got a ESB roll. So I decide, okay, well, let's not worry about the ESB. We'll do it next turn.
Yeah.
You say to me, there's no point in taking a risk. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I hadn't worked out that I could do this at this point.
So we'll revisit that in a minute. So we're pushing up here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're really pushing there. You've got ferocious firepower. I know
That's
I've
right.
got a lot as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, you were firing back at 32 firepower at some point.
I did a couple of times. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
More fire lanes.
And not breaking everything.
Right. Yeah,
I think here I'm about to do a voluntary break for some of these guys rather than face the close combat. So I don't want to lose the units if I can. But it's already getting a bit difficult to find somewhere safe for them to rally.
Right.
Luckily, I have no trouble rallying when I'm DM. So that tank's doing good work.
Yeah.
Good work on the right-hand side, yeah.
That's right.
So do you know which is the tank at this point?
No. So I'm assuming it's this guy over here.
Yeah.
Because I thought, okay, we won't put 2 of them here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's... So I just was going to, just try and get into close combat with it, which is obviously just deadly anyway for the infantry, because you've got the SNs, haven't you?
I think so, yeah.
A little bit of fire in here. I don't think I hit... I think I might have hit once with one of the tanks out of all...
Yeah.
All
no,
nine.
you didn't have great luck with the big guns on the tanks.
Yeah, so we break all the Germans here.
I stay with voluntary routes, but yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay.
Voluntary route to try and get them out of the close combat, which they inevitably would have died in.
Right. Well, we get close combat.
I am genuinely concerned about how I'm going to rally them.
Right. Yeah, so melee into there.
Yeah, melee there.
Yeah. But you did half squad him, so...
Yes. Yeah, machine gun
Oh,
broken.
out
Now I've
comes the.
revealed the gun.
That's right.
And you know what? It's not in a great position. First, I had to turn it, and it's not in a great position to. I mean, its secondary objective was to fire at infantry as they were attacking the building, but it's not brilliantly placed, really.
And it was your worst piece, wasn't it? It was your worst piece. You didn't have good dice with it, and
that's true. That's true. But lots of hindrances.
Yes.
This is a better move,
right? Yeah. So here comes the charge of the full squad.
I could fire into buildings with this guy if he can get into position.
Oh, hang on. Which one? I'm talking about the guy at the top right.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay. So the guy on the top right, is chasing the.
Yeah, it chases the
tank. I do mismanage this. I think I've got a great chance of the Panzerfaust, but I haven't. What I should have done is try to advance into close combat, I think. Because in 1945, I've got the anti-tank magnetic mines.
Right.
So I was talking about the guy on the left who's
in the gully.
Sneaking down the gully.
Yeah. This Tiger then reveals itself, comes around the corner, destroys one squad straight away with an 8 shot, and then
fire shot.
And then it destroys the next guy as well.
Yeah.
The next Tiger comes in, and these now are quite hard to deal with. You're pulling back.
No. I mean, you've got the 100L, but it's not got a turret. It's even the 100L. I don't think it's a certain.
No, that's right.
Tiger.
And remembering that these are multi-story buildings, I've got to get you out of good order, guys. 3 of these, and we're on turn 3.
Yeah.
So you're able to pull back.
Yeah. And everything rallies, or virtually everything rallies.
Right.
So there's a lot of firepower on V9.
Right. All right. Yeah, you
that was the
reinforced the melee.
Yeah.
Another chance for me to whine in a second. Right. So here, you didn't go for your Panzerfaust here, which I think you obviously should have gone.
Obviously should have done. And the advance, the Patsy.
Well, you failed the Patsy, I think. I think you failed the Patsy.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough then.
Yeah, this is you failing the Patsy there.
I don't know why I didn't do it.
But yeah, and then so you rolled a 10 on the close combat here. So here I have a chance because I think, okay, well, the good news here is that I might be able to survive the rally. Well, I've obviously survived the melee, and then I can get into the right hand side of the buildings. Yeah. So of course I roll a double 6,
obviously,
which allows you to withdraw, and so now lets you reinforce the kind of the building as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the tank does do a little bit of damage here. And we jump in. And just try and cause some mayhem. Now, what I quite like about these ones is, at this point, these tanks are expendable, and so just 100%. Giving you targets and getting in somewhere where it might be a bit difficult for you to worry is quite nice. So we get the 9-2 jumps in, and suddenly here, I've got 3 628s. I've got a couple of 628s here, all within kind of jumping distance of these guys with 2 turns left to go. So you get the very scary thing, but you get the snake eyes on one of the shots here.
Yeah. I'm not quite. Oh, was that?
And then you roll your double 6 on another one.
There's a lot of defensive fire.
Yeah, this was you had your 36, your 32 coming up here.
And I feel a little bit intimidated by this. You're doing very well on that left-hand side. I'm now sort of thinking of using the tanks on the right to sort of close the breadth of your attack.
Right.
So I can focus a bit more on, but it's not all going my way.
Right. I got the other tank off, so I got the the bog check.
And now essentially a squad down because he's failed in his mission.
Right. But he's quite useful because he's going to come back in and guard that top building.
He's only got 4 movement factors this time.
Right.
Next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he can hold that building at the back. That's right. His importance, isn't it?
You generate some wind, which you're known for.
such a cheap joke, Pete.
Sorry. You break your 88 gun.
Yeah.
And then we have a little bit of prep fire that I about to survive.
Yes.
Some of it.
I wasn't sure whether to prep fire, but it just felt too tempting.
Yeah, and it's a one check. Yeah, it's a one check, and I roll an 8-7, 8-9.
Yeah. With amazing troops.
Yeah,
it could have gone much better for you.
So it pins the top two guys, the leader and the thing, and then breaks everybody else.
Yeah.
Then the blaze. So I finally got my heavy machine gun up in the top floor here, ready to just kind of support. And now the blaze from the second scout car, he's gonna put the smoke here and here.
Timing couldn't have been better, could it?
Yeah, exactly.
From my perspective.
So this is poor play from me. I should have realised that. The chances are that's going to happen. And done everything I could to try avoid that.
Yeah.
Your punch trick guys coming down the left hand side. Yeah. You're able to pull back a bit. I mouth another gun. I mouth the coax on the 85 L as well. Round comes the punch trick guy. The smoke envelopes my fire base.
Yeah. Melee's still going.
Melee's still going.
I can't win that. Well, you can't win it either.
That's true. But at this point, with a turn to go. So it's about to be my turn. So I'll have 2 turns left, but I just can't clear. I can't clear these buildings. I think with them being multi-story, and you've got the 3 guys in this one building here, which won't fall, and the guy at the top here will get back up to here. And I call it here. Possibly early. I don't know if you felt that was too early to call.
Possibly it was a bit early, but there was a number of reasons, wasn't it? We needed to finish, and it was a question of whether we came back to it or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not unwinnable, but it was looking pretty tough for you to accomplish that. I malfunctioned the gun as well, didn't I? So it was literally useless to me.
This one up top,
the top left gun, absolutely.
And I think
it was a good scenario, though. I enjoyed.
Yes,
everything that could have gone wrong really did go wrong for you.
Yes,
there was definitely a kind of an unluckiness there.
Yeah, but, I got a little bit lucky with the tank getting off at the top. You're missing the Panzerfaust, and they're missing the close combat into there as well. Which would have absolutely had an effect.
It would have thrown you, wouldn't it? Because you'd have had to find another vehicle to get off.
That's right.
And with my tanks busy. Yeah.
But I definitely needed to get the half squads into the scout car. I needed to get the heavy and the mediums off of that. And then potentially use it as a fire base.
Just clear the way. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you've already got a heavy, haven't you?
That's right. And it's a 50 cal.
You've got 2 heavies. Yeah, it's the 50, which is the big one, isn't it? So you have another 2 6s.
Yep.
And another 2 4s.
Yep. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
you need that to clear.
Leader. Yeah. You needed to clear the troops away. So really good scenario. I mean, it's it was good fun. It was it's a nice ball to play on. I think it was good fun. I can see this being a bit of a tournament. It could be a tournament classic in a way. It could be a nice city fight, but with some open ground as well. Some big guns to fire. Might put a few people off with the 7, 8, 9 vehicles for the Russians to kind of manage. And I guess on a face-to-face game, it might get a bit counter-intensive in the middle here.
I guess so. Yeah.
But obviously, we've got our nice, we can make our nice boards different sizes thanks to the board zoomer feature now on Vassal.
Yeah.
Which is always good. So good fun scenario, great to play.
I thought so. I thought it was a good scenario. Obviously, it's probably more enjoyable for me than you, but it was good.
It was good fun. It was good fun. Nice to have Schwerpunkt back. And I wonder if they're going to produce some more each year again, or whether
I've been beginning to think I've just got too much money, so I'm glad to have something else that I can spend it on.
we should do next time. We're going to do a talk about the final, which will be ready to show. And we'll go through the Belgian Blitzkrieg. I think we'll also do like a review of 2024 in ASL terms, like what came out and what we enjoyed playing and stuff like that. Be interested to hear people's favourite.
Maybe what we're looking forward to. It could be for another episode or whatever.
Absolutely. So let us know what your favourite scenario of 2024 was in terms of what you played, your favourite new scenario from 2024, your favourite products. We'd be interested to hear that. We'll have a think about what I guess for us, it's always hard to remember when stuff came out because it takes us so long to get around to playing it.
That's right.
I want to say that some Mereglies came out last year, but it may have been the year before. It's one of those ones. It probably came out in 2019, but it takes us so long to get round to playing it.
I mean, there's partly the question of purchasing it and stuff. You don't necessarily get them straight away. Especially in the UK, we tend not to order direct from MMP anymore, do we? And so it can be some time until you got your hands on it.
You're right. As always, we have to thank our patrons, and so Eric Waters is our new patron for this month. So many thanks, Eric, for joining. Feel free to. We're going to put the sign-ups for the tournaments. We're going to do the starter kit tournament, and we're going to do the main Illuminating Rounds tournament, and we'll have them up on the Scenario Archive. If you're a patron, you will be able to join the main tournament. Starter kit players don't have to worry about being a patron for this year. We'll let those guys in gently. That's it's bait and switch, isn't it? We've got to start them off and then get them excited and then switch them over. So we'll do that. There's some nice prizes up for grabs. We still have a copy of St Mary Glees to no one has sent us a video yet of a replay. I think.
Yes, I know. Tim and Phil were talking about making one, weren't they? And I think somebody else mentioned.
I think Timothy Reed as well was talking about doing one with Andy Bagley.
So, yes.
For the final, I think for the final they were going to do.
Yes.
So we'll have a look at that.
Oh, that would be brilliant. That would be brilliant.
See how they get on there. In the meantime, Martin, we're going to think about something else to play shortly. I'm off to the States for a week or so to see my sister. You are off to the FCA exam room to do some exams.
Exactly what's happening. I'm revising at the moment. So I thought I'd passed the exams, but now I've got to more exams. Was not aware of that, but they're not really exams, tests. But it's all fun.
Yeah, you love it. It's what could be more fun? Could you, if you said 5 years ago, you could be taking some mortgage advisor exams, you'd be living the dream. Would you have believed it? Would you?
Yeah, do you know, I suppose I wouldn't have believed it, but I have sort of always wanted to do something a bit like this. So it's not quite that crazy. But I do also remember finishing my degree and walking out of the last exam thinking, I don't care what I do in future, I'm not taking exams again. But these are all multiple choice. It's not. We used to have to write 4 essays in 3 hours in degree exams, and that's hard work. It's tough. Whereas sitting there going, B. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. I don't mind doing it, really. It's not like a real exam.
I mean, your profession now is literally ticking boxes, so you're going to be
you're
going to be doing that in an exam room to make sure.
My job will literally be filling in forms and ticking boxes. So it's.
Do they test how good the tick is? And that's a nice strong tick. Good action. All right, Martin. Well played this week, and we will catch up with you in a couple of weeks' time. Patrons, don't forget you have access to the new graphics. Make sure you tick the box on the My Page stuff. Check out your new ability to find those scenario setups nice and easily. Again, thank you very much for your support. We don't put adverts on YouTube or anything like that to be aware of the fact that we are supported by you guys. So everybody should thank those Patreon guys for keeping the archive going. That's part of where it's mostly where the money goes. So again, thank you for that. We appreciate it. And until next time, Martin, well played. Thank you very much.
Cheers all.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.